Then, as a result, the story between them suffered for it. I think it was a story that had a lot of potential, especially because there were so many interesting things, I think, about the fact that Eric, despite being the older one, was the person who was essentially being taught about his needs and his wants and desire, and Kyle, being the younger one, was more so the teacher. I think Eric was even demisexual. Like, how often do we see a demisexual athlete's main character? There's so much more that could have been done with the story, and it just ended up being disappointing because I felt like the focus was just on a lot of variables that just weren't that important. Number 4 is Game Changer, Scott and Kip's story. It was okay, and I do remember enjoying it at the time, but I also just think that it was quite basic, and there's nothing about it that particularly stands out to me, especially in comparison to the books that ended up being in my top 3. Good for what it is, but it's ultimately forgettable. It's a series, so I guess there always has to be that book that is just okay. They didn't get me in the way that the other books did, so that's why it's number 4. Number 3 is Tough Guy, which is a story between Ryan and Fabian. The story is great, and it definitely has its flaws, but the reason why this book means so much to me is because Ryan Price is one of my favorite main characters of all time. I just love him. I've come to understand that I just love a really sweet man and just a gentle giant. And actually, the giant part doesn't really matter. He doesn't have to be a giant. But in this case, Ryan is like a gentle giant. He was very vulnerable in this book, and there was so much about him that I connected to, despite us being very different people with not a lot in common. Both him and Fabian actually just felt like people that you could meet randomly on any given day, just because of how kind of normal the trajectory of their story was, but also I think their personalities as well. I love the fact that Fabian was just so unapologetically himself, especially being part of a society that could possibly shun him. I love the fact that everybody else around him found him attractive because of that. I just wanted Ryan to get the love he deserved. I wanted him to have a life worth living and be treated well. One of the reasons why I really loved Tough Guy was for being brave enough to discuss when people struggle with sex, because I feel like with romance books they're always having the most mind-blowing sex, and it's amazing to see a book center a story about a character who struggles with that aspect and what that looks like, and the fact that despite all that, they are, I think, still deserving of a romantic relationship, and things can get better with practice and with them knowing more about themselves and with good communication. So I thought that was really important. It kind of deviated from, I think, the status quo of romance books, and it was met with such understanding and love and grace, and it stood out to me and kind of shot it way above the rest. I know it's not everyone's favorite, but Ryan Price just really stole my heart.